How's it going, everyone? We have some brief updates on a couple of free-to-play games. Digital Extremes, the development studio behind Warframe, is working on a brand new MMORPG, a free-to-play action MMORPG at that, and also, they're teaming up with another studio to do another free-to-play online fantasy action game. We'll talk about that, and Ghost of Tsushima reaches a pretty darn impressive milestone as far as sales numbers go. We'll go over that at the end of this video, but first up, Warframe developer Digital Extremes has announced Soulframe, a brand new free-to-play action hybrid massively multiplayer online RPG currently in early development. Now, all we got was a cinematic reveal trailer, so I imagine this is still incredibly early on in development. And I wouldn't expect to see it anytime in the near future. However, given the development studio, Digital Extremes has done a tremendous job with Warframe, and Warframe was a game that had its fair share of issues at launch. I remember playing that game right when it came out, and yeah, the reception was not that strong, but to see it, you know, it's one of those stories like in FF14. Game starts one way, and No Man's Sky as well. Game starts one way, and it has just gotten a lot better, and consistent updates have helped with that. It was noted, with Soulframe's world building and thematic elements, we are really looking to go back to our childhood favorites and pull inspiration from the elaborate fantasy worlds that we fell in love with growing up. That is coming from Soulframe creative director Jeff Crooks in a press release. Our team is really interested in this idea of nature and humanity colliding, and we'll be exploring a lot of those themes through our own lens while playing with the ideas of restoration and exploration. It was noted to be a transparent, collaborative, and an interactive process shaped alongside the passion of players and Digital Extreme. There is a Soulframe official website, there's an interactive puzzle on there, but again, details as far as the game goes, it's still very early on, and I wouldn't expect to play this anytime in the near future, but hey, Digital Extreme's working on another free-to-play game. Pretty interesting and definitely a story to follow. No platforms have been revealed, but again, given that Warframe was on PlayStation 4 and 5, I would imagine at some point it'll see a console release. Okay, moving on from that, also, Digital Extremes and Airship Syndicate are teaming up to announce a partnership to create a brand new free-to-play online character-based third-person fantasy action game set in a brand new original world where adventure with friends is the name of the game. Now, Airship Syndicate is not a studio that is widely known. However, if you are familiar with their games, they have created some quality titles. Now, them working on a free-to-play online title, that's a little bit different. Let's be real here. But the work they've already done has been pretty good. They did Battle Chasers Night War back in 2017. In 2019, they put out Darksiders Genesis, and 2021, they put out Ruined King, a League of Legends story. Ruined King is a game that I talk very highly about. It's a game that I was shocked at how much I enjoyed. Great story, and even if you weren't a big League of Legends fan, it was just a really well-crafted narrative that I thought anybody could enjoy as an RPG fan. It was a really solid game, and now they're working on something brand new alongside Digital Extremes, a free-to-play game. Noted, I signed Darksiders at THQ, and I've been trying to work with creative director and Airship Syndicate president ever since our reunion is a decade in the making, and couldn't be happier for Airship Syndicate and this opportunity for them to shine. The Syndicate also noted, we're a group of passionate, experienced game developers based in Austin, Texas. Our goal is simple: build a lean, fun, independent game studio to create top-quality games for a variety of gaming platforms. Now, a full reveal of the game was actually noted. It's gonna be happening this fall at the Game Awards show, so yeah, that's something to look forward to by the end of the year. Now, it should be noted, this is a game, we don't even know a lot about it. We got a little bit announcement presentation video that was talking to the developers and whatnot, but as far as what the game is gonna be and the overall goal of the game, you know, we have a general idea. It's an original world, and the idea is to play with your friends, but beyond that, we don't know much more, but we'll see how that one turns out. Again, that is going to be seeing a full reveal at the Game Awards in 2022. Alright, one last thing I do want to note. This is a little bit different than the free-to-play stuff we went over. Ghost of Tsushima, a game that I think everybody really enjoyed when it came out. I mean, it came out right after the pandemic really started, and it was one of those games that came out summer of 2020 that I think everybody really got into. It came out like a month after Last of Us Part 2, but it's a very enjoyable game done by Sucker Punch, and Ghost of Tsushima sales have topped 9.73 million copies, announced by publisher Sony and developer Sucker Punch Productions. The game sales were last reported to have surpassed 8 million units on January of this year, and now it has pushed another 1.7 million units. Of course, this is talking about Ghost of Tsushima, as well as Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, But if you own the base game, you could just buy an upgrade. So yeah, I don't think there were a lot of people buying both the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 version of the game. But nonetheless, who knows? And, you know, seeing a number like, you know, almost 10 million copies sold, yeah, I can see why Sucker Punch is not doing a Sly Cooper and they're not doing another Infamous at this stage of the game. Ghost of Tsushima is an IP with a lot of legs to it, and it's obvious that as a new IP, if you get a slam dunk like this, like, you gotta keep the ball rolling. Like, we just saw Horizon Zero Dawn crack 20 million units sold, and obviously Guerrilla is super into that. Obviously, Horizon came out back in 2017. Ghost of Tsushima, well, I don't think it's gonna be as successful as Horizon. I think it's gonna be incredibly successful in its own right. And I think ultimately it will see a PC release that'll bolster up its sales numbers quite a bit as well. But yeah, once you have an IP in your hands like this and you're talking about Game 1 doing this well, yeah, you know, as much as I love Infamous, we can go back and look at the Infamous Second Son sales numbers. We can look at the Infamous 1 and 2 sales numbers. Different time period. PlayStation 4s were not readily as available, and people didn't have them when Infamous Second Son came out. The PS3, it is what it was. I feel like the exclusives never were as popular as some of the top-tier PS4 exclusives were, even though quality-wise, I would say, you know, Infamous 1 is right up there with a lot of those games. But yeah, 9.73 million copies is a staggering number, and if you played the entirety of Ghost of Tsushima, while I guess you could kind of see it as, like, its own, like, definitive experience, and you could kind of close the chapter on it, when I beat Ghost of Tsushima, I was like, yo, there's a lot more story to tell here with Jin. Like, I'm not gonna get into spoilers, since I'm sure a lot of you guys might be playing it for the first time, since it's included with PlayStation Plus Extra, but really, to me, Ghost of Tsushima just seemed like an origin story for Jin. It really seemed like, okay, this is how Jin becomes who he is going to be for the rest of the arc of however long they want to go, whether they call it Ghost of Tsushima 2 or whatever they want to call the next game. There's like a lot of different directions to go, but when it came to Sucker Punch, I was never like, don't do a Ghost of Tsushima 2, do a new Infamous instead. No, I knew Ghost of Tsushima was a big IP. I was just hoping, hey, give the Infamous IP to another studio, give Sly Cooper to another studio, hopefully they can do some solid work with it, but hey, them's the breaks, and I guess it is what it is as far as that's concerned. Look, Ghost of Tsushima 1 was a game that I absolutely enjoyed, and I honestly think it's one of the more underrated PlayStation titles. Like, a lot of PlayStation exclusives, I see them cracking 90s on Metacritic left and right. Ghost of Tsushima has like an 83, and I thought Ghost of Tsushima was an excellent game, and I remember when it came out, I saw some criticism of people being like, oh, Jin's a boring character, and I definitely disagreed with that. Yeah, he starts off as a boring character, but he has some tremendous character development throughout the game, and that was kind of the idea of Ghost of Tsushima, but I've gone down that rabbit hole a few times on why I so strongly disagree with the notion that Jin's a boring character, but nonetheless, game is doing incredibly well. Easy to see why Sucker Punch is doing a sequel, and, or, a sequel's not even announced, but I can easily understand why Sucker Punch would forego some of the IPs they have in their back pocket to do a Ghost of Tsushima 2. There's a lot of story to be told when it comes to Jin, and, yeah, I think they're gonna be doing that, and I would imagine an announcement on that is gonna come sooner rather than later. Hopefully, it's not gonna be, you know, a 6-year wait period or anything like that for the sequel, but we'll see how it turns out. That's gonna do it for me. Again, a lot of stuff to go over. Digital Extremes working on a couple of free-to-play titles. Soulframe, a brand new free-to-play action RPG. They're teaming up with Airship Syndicate to do a free-to-play online fantasy action game. And Ghost of Tsushima doing incredibly well from a sales standpoint. That's going to do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.